Chuck is one of the craziest brawlers to be released in Brawl Stars, so obviously we're gonna master him and get him to rank 35. But before we master Chuck, we actually have to learn how he works. And well, actually, Chuck has a pretty decent learning curve when you start playing him. His pole placements and how fast you get them down on the map is gonna be very crucial to whether you win or lose the game. And well, from 0 to 500 trophies, we were still basically learning how Chuck even works. We played on hot zone dueling beetles and had a 3-pole setup. Now come to find out, the star power with 4 poles is actually much better, but we stuck with the 3-pole setup for a pretty decent amount of time. And our setup was, we had 1 pole on our side of the hot zone, 1 pole on their side, and well, the 3rd pole honestly didn't really matter. It can go basically anywhere. Now this was a super basic setup, but from 0 to 500 trophies, it worked wonders because people didn't even know how to dodge Chuck. So with this strategy, we quickly hit 500 trophies, but trust me, strategies later in the video would get much more tricky. But now that we hit 500 trophies, it was time for us to start our first challenge. This challenge was we had to play with randoms until we hit 1k trophies, but if we did win with the randoms, we were allowed to play again with them until we lost. And honestly, this ended up being so much fun and so much pain at the same time. At first, things were going great. We had a triangle setup on a new hot zone map, and we were winning actually pretty consistently. And honestly, I was finding some pretty good teammates that we would win several games with, but no teammates that we were going on huge win streaks with just yet, until I found Hazy and Antidote. Now honestly, these guys were really good. Now our comp was not good, but we made up for it with skill. We started to destroy teams and climb up the trophies, and somehow we even beat comps like Poco Double Tank with Squeak and Piper. So I started to think this could be the team that we go on the craziest win streak with, but then we had this super intense game. And well, with that win under our belts, more wins just kept flowing in. But eventually, all good things must come to an end, and unfortunately, my game crashed. So that meant I couldn't play again with my goated teammates. And this was honestly a very sad moment for the push. We were doing so well, but something out of our control stopped our win streak. But nonetheless, I have to thank these guys because they helped me get to 800 trophies and over 4,000 mastery. But the push still needs to go on, so it was time to hopefully find other goated teammates. And while I was finding some decent teams that were helping me gain trophies pretty slowly, but eventually I needed to find the best team. And then we found them, Alex and Leonidas. Now at the start with pushing with these guys, we had some pretty close calls, but after we found our groove, it felt like we were unstoppable. We were on an 11-game win streak when this happened. Yes. And with that win, we got Silver 2 Mastery, then won a few more games, but eventually, again, all things must come to an end. We unfortunately lost to a pretty hard comp to play against, but honestly, I have zero complaints. We pushed to 929 trophies, which is really closing in on rank 30. Now, since the map changed for day 2, we were going to have to find a different strategy, and we were going to try our luck on Hot Potato. Now, personally, I don't love playing Heist with Chuck because I feel like it's so base racy that a lot of the times you can win, lose games, and sometimes they're out of your control. And well, that kind of showed because while we were learning how to play Chuck on this map, we were winning and losing so many games. Now, the strategy we ended up going with was very simple. We went 3 poles straight down the middle to their safe. Now, there was probably a better strategy, but this was still kind of working, so we stuck with it for the rest of the day. Now, things were going pretty slow until we found these 2 teammates, Torcanito and Alex. Our game plan was Spike was going to focus on defense while me and Bull just deleted the enemy safe. And we actually went on such a big win streak that we hit 1,000 trophies without even noticing. So we kept playing. But of course, we lost the very next game after 1k, which tilted us back down below 1,000 trophies. And well, because we were below 1,000 trophies, we marked our challenge as still incomplete. We had to finish above 1,000 trophies, so we had to continue the push and had to say goodbye to our teammates. And well, that mistake would really cost us because we started to lose a bunch of games, but luckily along the way, something that made me happy was we beat Zulon GG Zulan. But after several more hours of playing, we finally found another very strong team. With these guys, I hit Gold 1 Mastery, and we eventually got back to 1k Chuck. Now that we hit rank 30 on Chuck, we have 2 more challenges to complete. We still need to get Chuck to rank 35, and we have to finish off Chuck's Mastery. Now really quick, I want to say these videos take a very long time, so if you guys can hit the subscribe button, it would help us out a ton. We're actually going for 100k subscribers now, which is super insane, so thank you guys so much. But either way, we hopped on Kaboom Canyon and started grinding away at Mastery. Now at this point, we still didn't really have a team to play with, so we still kept playing with randoms, and playing with randoms at 1k trophies, pretty tough to win consistently. So yeah, we won and lost a ton of games. But eventually, we played against our buddy Jeff. And yeah, Jeff beat us, but not long after, he actually DM'd me and said, why don't we just play together instead of playing with randoms alone? And well, we would soon find out that this was the best thing that could happen to us during our push. With Jeff, we climbed back up to 1,000 trophies, and in no time, we were getting really close to Gold 2 when this insane game happened. We had a really bad start to the game, putting us about 50% behind the other team. Oh my god. And yeah, that was one of the craziest comebacks that I've ever had, but this wouldn't even be the last crazy game that I had with Jeff. A couple games later, we had this crazy game as well. Tied? And I think that was the first ever tie that I had in Heist, which is pretty crazy. But either way, a few games later, we hit Gold 2 without even noticing. And well, that's how we ended day 3. For day 4, we joined back up with Jeff, and we tried out Siege for the first time. Now this actually might be Chuck's best mode. My job was super simple. Set up 4 poles across the map from our spawn to their Ike. The only thing you need to pull off this strategy is you need the gadget gear, and as well as you need the star power with 4 poles. And honestly, once you go in about 4 times, you can either end the game yourself or get really close. So the idea is you pair Chuck with 2 brawlers that are pretty good at grabbing bolts, so that if you win one single bot, you should be able to win the game. And honestly, this strategy worked wonders. We were winning every single game, also getting star player because we were doing the most damage to the Ike, so the mastery push was flying by. And it felt like in no time we hit 1,100 trophies on Chuck, and this is where I started to regain the confidence that I was going to be able to hit rank 35 Chuck and complete the challenge. And well, after 3 hours of grinding, of basically winning every single game, maybe we lost 1 or 2 along the way, we hit 1,200 trophies, and we also hit the mastery cap for the day in just about 3 hours. That's honestly crazy time. But either way, this meant we were starting to get really close to finishing both challenges. So that's how we ended off day 4. Now for day 5, we tried our luck on Safe Zone. But this map is a little bit weird for us and wasn't great because of the fact that Jeff was pushing Pam. Now Pam on Safe Zone isn't really the best way. We were winning and losing a lot of games, so we weren't really climbing towards rank 35, but we were still getting mastery along the way. And eventually, we closed in to 1 game away from mastering Chuck. But also dummy me was muted during this final game, unfortunately. I was muted the whole time. Oh, we got the mastery. And with that, we unlocked the Maestro title and completed the challenge to master Chuck. We just had 1 more challenge left, and that was to get rank 35 Chuck. Now, unfortunately, the start of the final day didn't go so high. I tilted a lot of trophies, so much so that I was at now 1,133 trophies. And at this point, I honestly really wanted to give up. I was so far away from rank 35 again, and I just knew this was gonna take forever. But I also knew that you guys wanted to see me complete the challenge, so I couldn't give up, and I joined up with my teammate Zulan and his buddy Wanel. Now we grinded Siege for what felt like forever, but the problem with Siege is it was really base racy, and it felt like a little bit RNG whether you were gonna win the game or not. This also meant that we were gonna win and lose a lot of games, and after hours and hours of playing, we only actually gained 30 trophies, which was not enough. So at this point, we decided to make a crucial change. We were going to play Hot Zone. And at this point, we were also joined by Chompy. Now, our strategy was pretty straightforward. We had a Lou, which was by far the most important brawler of our comp, which you guys will see in just a second. We also had Spike that was really good for control, and the Hypercharged Super covered basically all the Hot Zone. And then you also had me, Chuck, that just basically is there to cause a lot of havoc. Now, playing Hot Zone was by far the best decision we made all push, because right off the bat, it felt like the games were now back in our hands. We started to win games very consistently again, which was a huge relief because I finally regained the confidence that we were going to be able to hit this rank 35. But then we ran into this really difficult comp to play against, Gray Double Tank. Now this comp was being played so much at high ladder because it was really easy to pull off and it was super effective. Basically their strategy was Gray would set up a TP from their spawn into the hot zone and they would continuously TP in until they would get more time than you and they would just kill you over time. But luckily we had our ace up our sleeve, and that was Lou. As long as we placed Lou supers on the hot zone, we would be able to freeze them and they couldn't move the way they wanted. So all I had to do was set up my poles to wherever their TP was and super back and forth between them, doing so much damage while Lou and Spike were able to control the hot zone with their supers. But even with this awesome strategy, the games ended up being super close. But after that win, things kept going our way. We were climbing trophies, but the only problem was we had to wait for this insanely long matchmaking. We watched this spinning wheel for hours and hours, but eventually we were now one game away from rank 35.
How do you say one more in Spanish?
Una más, una más.
Una más.
Una más.
And for our last game, we were facing a very good comp. Chuck, Poco, Buster.
Oh,
Okay. Recuerda. Yes.
shit. Yeah.
Yes. Money from? Oh my god.
No, nice.
It's this guy's the hardest.
Yeah. He's gonna go in?
Which one does he land to?
Goes to another super. Nice.
Nice.
Doing great. Another
Okay,
super.
enough super. Nice.
Nice.
Nice!
American Dream! American!
I'm gonna go ahead.
Yes!
Easy money, baby!
And with that, we completed our last challenge of getting Chuck to rank 35. Thank you, Zulon. Thank you, Chompy. Please like and subscribe because this was super painful. But either way, peace.